Welcome back to the morning show here on Arise News.
The big banking conglomerates that emerged from the ashes of the 2006 Charles Soludo-inspired consolidation exercise have done pretty well for themselves and may in fact deserve lots of credit for surviving the global financial meltdown of 2008, even in that infant stage. There's little doubt about the role of efficient management skills in ensuring that the new ventures had a safe landing. The Nigerian banking industry is flushed with core management professionals, but it is unique when one comes across one with a multi-industry experience, something that could be useful in managing the wealth of individuals and governments. Amaechi Okobi, Group Head Communications and External Affairs at Access Bank PLC, falls into that category, having held critical management positions at shipping, telecommunications, and other industries before joining the banking profession. Okobi was educated at Columbia University's Business School. He's a marketing and communications professional, as well as a proven expert in brand management. He's here with us to look at the need for organizations to build brand longevity and relevance. Amaechi, welcome to the morning show.
Good morning. Thank you for joining us today.
Good morning. Good morning. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, there's such a huge profile you have there.
A couple of things.
Okay.
I took a course in Columbia.
Okay.
But I graduated from George Washington.
George Washington
Yes.
University.
Well,
all right.
both are great schools.
Both are great schools. Both are great schools.
All right,
Those
so
are great
tell us, tell our audience, what does a group head of corporate communications do?
It's essentially my job to, in a nutshell, so I tell my 11-year-old, it's my job to manage the perception of the brand.
Okay.
So this involves events and sponsorships, it involves branding, it involves advertising, digital marketing, sustainability. I'm here to make sure that when people think about Access Bank, the thoughts are positive. So everything I do is driven by that.
Well, I noticed that recently Access Bank sponsored an art event, an annual art event called Artex.
Yes.
Yeah, why art? Why not fashion? Why not music? Why not,
Why not
dancing?
We want to know about fashion first.
Why not fashion? Why not fashion? We can easily, happily get involved with that. But we have a strong passion for art.
Okay.
We have a passion for Nigerian artists and African artists, if I may put it that way. We want, you know, when you watch the news and you read the news, the perception of Nigeria isn't always positive.
Okay.
There's far too many negatives. So we sponsor ArtX, like you mentioned. We sponsor AFRIF, which is about film. And essentially any organization or entity that through their initiatives are helping to project a better Nigeria and Africa, are helping to change the narrative, we will support. So ArtX is particularly dear to us because at Access Bank, we love art. I love art. My MD, Herbert, loves art. And it's a fantastic expression of...
So is it a dual decision, both of you, and your MD?
We have sponsored this for 3 years. Okay. It's not dual in that we talk about everything we sponsor. It's a much larger team than just me. And I take his views, he takes my views, and we agree that this makes sense.
Well, let me rephrase that. You know, in this country in the 80s, in the early 80s, many of the banks were sponsoring theater.
Yes.
They were promoting the stage, you know, actors and all of that. Now, but once the management in some of those banks, I don't want to mention the names,
We won't.
once the management changed,
Yes.
you know, that kind of sponsorship also disappeared.
Yes.
Now, in this case now, you mentioned yourself and Herbert
Yes.
as being interested in the arts,
Yes.
right? So doesn't that pose a problem for sustainability?
Right.
Because if in the future you are not there, Herbert moves on,
Yes.
then the new person comes and maybe that person doesn't like the arts.
Yes.
Maybe that person prefers something else. Then this will be abandoned. And that's the major concern in the arts community, about sustainability of corporate sponsorship of the arts community.
The question you ask is actually huge, and it's much larger than corporate. It also goes to a great country, Nigeria, as you know. But in Access Bank, we are all carried along. So everybody from the MD to a driver knows our vision, knows our mission, and is driven by that. So when Herbert is gone, 10, 15 years from now, the things that we support as a bank will definitely stay. So art, I don't see disappearing because, again, it's about showcasing Nigerian talent, Nigerian creativity, and everyone in the bank knows that we do this, and everyone knows why we do it. So if Herbert's gone tomorrow, that love of art, that support of art, and a desire to change the Nigerian narrative, change the African narrative, will stay within the bank. It's sewn into the fabric of the bank. So I'm not worried about that.
What motivated you to decide on Artex? What is the special thing about Artex?
It's a massive platform. So we support other arts initiatives, but they're all small. Artex is easily the biggest art exhibition in West Africa. And with our partnership, we're both growing. Artex is growing. Last year was not as big as this year. The year before, not as big as the year previously. So it's a fantastic platform.
Okay, I know you classify this under corporate social responsibility. What percentage of turnover does your bank do in terms of corporate social responsibility?
Yeah.
That's a very good question that I definitely need to get back to you on. But we take it quite seriously, as I'm sure you know. And the amount of money we put in varies because the initiatives that we would launch and run with, the initiatives that we put down. So it varies year on year. But do we take it seriously? Absolutely. We have a series of awards that talk to our drive to support and push sustainability.
So this year, you guys are partners with AFRIF, correct? And their theme is support for women, I believe so.
Yes.
What's the goal for this support that you guys have?
So again, AFRIF is about showcasing Nigerian and African film to the world. Right. So when you think it's a common thread. So when you think about Artex, when you think about AFRIF, what we're trying to do, like I said, is change the narrative and connect all these things. So every major event, every initiative we sponsor is geared towards that, changing the narrative for Nigeria and for Africa. So we support that because, again, there's creativity, there's talent.
So the only way I can come to you is if I have an initiative that supports your narrative. Is that what you're basically saying right now?
You put me nicely on the spot, but that drives us, yes. That definitely drives us. We believe that it's our responsibility to change the perception of Nigeria and Africa. And we're a bank. So we're not in film, we're not in art, but entities that want to do that and drive it and push the retelling of the African story will definitely take it seriously.
Talk to us about branding. I mean, tell me how you got involved with Access Bank and what you've done so far with branding the bank.
So before Access Bank, I worked at a drinks company, and before that, a telecoms company. So branding has always been my passion. For the longest time, I always felt that the banking industry did not have branding at the forefront because they're banks, and it's about the bottom line. How many dollars are you putting in? How many naira and kobo are you putting in? So branding and communicating from a brand perspective was not what they always did. And about maybe 5, 6, 7 years ago, they started to take it much more seriously. So when I got the call to join Access Bank, of course, I gave all the warnings. I'm coming from a drinks company. I am this kind of person. I will do everything I can to transform the way banking and Access Bank is perceived. So, and it's as simple as, again, from the MD down to the driver, everyone is a brand ambassador. So everyone has to love the brand and appreciate the brand and know what it stands for. So that when people think about Access Bank, the thoughts are positive. There's, of course, speed, service, security, which we drive, but you find that people don't make decisions anymore based on functionalities anymore. It's now about emotional. So when you think about luxury car versus a not luxury car, you're buying it because it tells the world who you are and how you feel and how this particular brand makes you feel. Same thing with banking. We all have different interest rates or same interest rates, but people bank with us because we're considered cool, we're considered youth-focused, we're considered a bank that drives the women agenda. And these are all things that we strategically plan and put in place to make sure that our customers stay with us beyond just the great banking that we do.
A few years ago, I attended an event that was sponsored, I guess, also by Access Bank. It was called the Toastmasters. Right? I was there. But what happened to that? Because that day, there was so much enthusiasm among the staff, and the plan was to turn every member of staff into a Toastmaster. What happened? You didn't sustain that.
So that wasn't for Access Bank. That's for a different bank.
Oh, okay.
But there is a Toastmasters club in Access Bank.
Okay.
And
so why will a bank promote a Toastmasters club?
Toastmasters, first of all, if we define it, is a speech and leadership club that promotes effective communication. So of course, every bank, every organization should have a Toastmasters club in it. It's the members, by virtue of being in the club, give speeches which are critiqued in a warm, familiar setting. So you're not just saying this was a terrible speech, but you're saying this is where you can improve. So we actually teach our members how to give positive criticism and how to tell you where you can improve. So this in turn improves your communication, it improves your leadership skills, and it basically helps you really become a better communicator. So Toastmasters really is an awesome club and one that I'm proud to be a member of.
Yeah, but you see, I take you back to the point you made earlier about everybody being a brand ambassador.
Yeah.
But if you look at not your bank now, I mean, I'm talking generally, the entire industry. One of the complaints is that, customers are still very dissatisfied with, banking procedures, banking processes. And sometimes, some of these tellers, you call them, or some of these cashiers or whatever, they are just extremely rude.
Yeah.
And you find that customer satisfaction, beyond Afri, beyond, should be the main focus, of the brand. So why is this such a problem in the industry? Why are bankers so, I don't want to use an offensive adjective.
I'm glad you didn't. Customer service is something that at Access Bank we battle all the time. We do believe that customer is king. We do believe that a happy customer is a loyal customer. A loyal customer is one that will be a brand ambassador. So are there challenges? Definitely. With Access and at every bank. But I believe as far as customer service goes, we're trying harder every day. We do surprise checks. We're big on social media because we know that this is where our customers are the most honest. The average customer isn't quick to dial your contact center to say, I'm complaining about ABC. But he will tell you on Instagram or she will tell you on Twitter. So when we get these, we reach out to them and we keep trying to bit by bit solve the problem. I'm happy that you acknowledge that it's an industry-wide problem. And it's the same thing all over the world, really. When you're dealing with people's monies, they don't have as much patience as we would like them to have because this is their money, it's their savings, it's their mortgage, it's their children's school fees. So all these things kind of bring out the nervous in them. And customer service, for us at least, tries to address that and be cognizant and aware of that.
So what's the nexus between corporate branding and performance?
Repeat that question.
So for example, once you have done your branding with your staff, right? How do you ensure that they are performing the way that you want them to?
We track it. We do surveys quite often at the bank, yes. We talk to staff, we bring in consultants to essentially track how our employees feel about the bank and the brand. And we also do studies of our customers. So definitely, like you're, I think, alluding to, it's one thing for me to sit behind and think my brand is loved. But until it's confirmed by actually speaking and engaging with my customers, current and prospective, there's no connection. So we check it all the time and see how we can use that data and that information to re-strategize when necessary.
And this is part of what you do as well?
A bit of it, yes. So the brand aspect and the customer care aspect kind of falls within my remit, but we have a customer service team that we constantly liaise with to make sure that we're in simpatico.
One major issue in the banking sector, it's very good to invest a lot in image, in branding, in perception management, marketing communications. But oftentimes the reality inside the banks, Nigerian banks, is something else. There have been complaints about discrimination on the basis of gender. I've had some banks saying that, look, some women cannot, some banks even go into family planning. They determine when their female staff can get pregnant, putting husbands in a very difficult situation. Banks set targets. If you don't get so target, you will be fired. And then you find that, okay, we see this beautiful, persona of the brand, but inside, the people inside are suffering. What's your take on this? I'm not saying you should defend your bank. Just a general comment on this phenomenon in the industry.
So the first thing, let me ask if you've heard about somebody called Antimo. Antimo.
You mean Mo Abudu?
No.
What's Antimo?
No. Mosu Bello Olusoga.
Okay.
Yes,
this is our chairman.
Yes.
Okay.
So she is a woman. She is highly intelligent, and she is driving women affairs in the bank by virtue of who she is. Our board has a good percentage that are women. Now, when you mention targets, everyone has to have targets. You have to wake up in the morning and say, you know what, I'm going to climb that mountain. Access Bank is driving to be the #1 Nigerian bank. We're driving to be the world's most respected African bank. Does that come because you prayed to God and just kind of sat and hoped for it? No. You have to set yourself goals. Now, I will touch on a little bit the fact about if you don't make targets, you get fired. No, it doesn't really work that way. It doesn't. We drive ourselves, we're very driven because we want to win. We want to be #1, and we will be #1. So there are people that cannot join us on that journey because they're not driven, because they feel differently, and that's okay. But we're not going to, because you didn't make your targets, fire you. If it's consistent and you're no longer adding value, then we have conversations about it. But I won't take lightly the fact that you have to have goals and you have to strive for those goals, no matter what. So we climb a mountain, we see another one, we're going for that mountain.
Okay, let me take you out of these banking-related issues. Recently, marketing communications professionals in Nigeria, they complained that political parties, this political season, are recruiting marketing professionals from abroad, AKPD and other similar agencies, to come and manage the political communication process in Nigeria. And they think that this is very wrong. This is a violation of local content, that marketing units in Nigeria should only concentrate on the professionals in Nigeria. What do you think?
I agree.
Because the banks are also guilty. Some of the banks use foreign advertising agencies.
But not a lot. We have great agencies in Nigeria. We work with 4 or 5 of them. So me personally, and the bank, a strong proponent of driving local content. Now, would we get consultants where necessary because they are strong in particular areas? Absolutely. But will they be our focus? Will they be the lead in what we do? Absolutely not. Politicians run on a different program entirely. I'm not a politician, so I can't speak to that. But I know for sure Access Bank, I head corporate communications. I am Nigerian. My agency is fully Nigerian. We look for the best where possible, but we'll always go Nigeria first. We can't talk about changing the narrative, letting the world know that there's more to Nigeria and Africa than meets the eye, and then we do all our business or use support from internationals. It doesn't make sense.
If you are asked to market Nigeria as a brand, this is not a political question. What are those things that you would like to focus on?
Wow, that brand Nigeria is a passion for me. One that I would love to be involved with. The first thing I would push is give young Nigerians a chance. The second thing I'll push with is tourism. There's so much beauty about Nigeria that we haven't projected. Thirdly, our creative arts, our film industry, our art industry. We have an incredible tech hub that will be pushed. When the Facebook head came to Nigeria, that's where he went first, because we have incredible minds. So we'll talk to that. There's so much about Nigeria that's amazing and fascinating. Pushing that would be such a pleasure. And let the world know there's more to Nigeria than meets the eye.
Well, how do you push these positives.
Yes.
You know, in the context of corruption, crisis of leadership, violence, lack of infrastructure, a banking system that is, you know, not really serving the purpose in terms of the people's expectations.
You had me onto that last part. The banking industry is trying, is working. Remember, we've come a long way.
Yeah.
We've come a long way. A lot of the comparisons that get thrown our way should remember the fact that they've been doing these things in the US for years. They're doing these things in the UK and the Western world for years. So we are getting our bearings, but I think we're doing a great job at it. You know, you take a credit card to the UK before, and they see a Nigerian credit card, they won't even take you seriously, debit card. But now,
It doesn't even work. It wouldn't even
it
work.
wouldn't even work.
Yeah.
I can use my Access Bank card anywhere in the world. And I travel because my job requires that I travel. So I could eat in Paris and swipe. I can go shopping wherever and swipe. So we're getting better, we're getting more credible. If you see a card that's Nigerian, the shop owner or the retailer is not going to react and say, no, we can't take this. Our money is as good as. And that makes me proud. So it's getting better. Are there challenges? Absolutely. But it's getting much better.
So when you say tourism, right, you said you would like to put, this is one aspect that I want to know about
Yes.
Nigeria, because, I mean, obviously Nigeria is huge. What aspect of tourism would you push for branding purposes for Nigeria?
We have incredible places to visit. I went to Calabar not long ago. There is Obudu Hills,
I have been.
the Obudu Ranch.
Yes.
Amazing place to go and just take it easy. And if I find a spot where there's no Wi-Fi, even better. So the venues and locations that exist within Nigeria, and it's not just in Lagos. It's Lagos, it's Calabar, it's Abuja, it's Ibadan, it's Onitsha. There are places that you go to and feel Nigeria and feel the people and take incredible selfies.
Well, let me ask you a question about what I seem to see as a kind of disconnect between the Nigerian banks and the people. Every year I see these banks, you know, the leading banks, posting astonishing profits. And I keep wondering, where is this money coming from in the midst of this so much poverty and inefficiency? Can you shed some light on that?
There are 198 million Nigerians. When you take out the extremely young, the extremely old, there's still a large chunk of that population that can be banked. Currently, all the banks right now, we're barely touching 40 or 50 million people banked. What about the remaining 140 something? So Nigerians have money. Yes, there's poverty. Why does damn near every single Nigerian have a mobile phone and data? So yes, there's poverty, but the money is there. So if you get your customers and get them right and make them trust your bank, that money comes in. We have a fantastic savings program in Access Bank, and it involves getting your family, four of you, to come in and save money. The numbers are astonishing because people understand the value of saving. So part of what we do is let Nigerians know, save for a rainy day so you can take your tomorrow. So the money is coming. These people do exist, but we obviously need much more people to bank.
All right.
That's
Well,
where we
I
are.
mean, there are regulatory issues, and the
There are,
CBN
yes.
occasionally complains about the banks and imposes sanctions. But one other concern is how many of these top banks, Tier 1, Tier 2, how they become channels for money laundering, and how these banks do not do enough in terms of fidelity to some of the CBN regulations, know your customer, KYC regulations, and all of that. And bankers become like money laundering agents for people siphoning money from the public system. And now, what do you think about that?
Are there banks that do that? Yes. Does Access Bank do that? No. And so every Friday at the bank, we have a meeting where we talk about our numbers for the week, how we've done, how we've performed, and all of that. And our MD is always quick to point out politically exposed persons. Now, these are not people that should not be banked, but we have to be very, very careful how we deal with them, because we're not just a Nigerian bank. We're not just an African bank. We're a proper multinational bank with subsidiaries and branches around the world. It takes something small in Nigeria for the UK bank to say it, or the UK banking industry to say, we can't deal with Access Bank anymore. We have branches, we have a subsidiary unit in China. So in addition to banking ethically, we have to answer to people that are not just Nigerians. We have to answer to a whole world of stakeholders that watch us very closely. So it's ethical, it's the right thing to do, it's fear of losing face to our many customers and stakeholders around the world. We're not about to get into money laundering and this corruption aspect of it. Banking is the most regulated industry. I remember when I worked at Diageo, my biggest fear was I'm not performing well. If that happens, the biggest thing is I'll get fired. In the banking industry, if I screw up badly enough, I'm arrested. So we're very careful how we do our banking, and know your customer and all of that, we take it very, very seriously.
But you are not into core banking.
No, I'm not.
And you are managing the image of bankers
Yes.
and of their...
But these things affect my job.
How? Where is the connection? Do you understand the language? Not being a core professional in that business.
I attend enough meetings and take enough trainings to understand it. So yes, I was hired as a marketing person. But as I've been in the banking industry now for almost 5 years, I'm a lot more confident and a lot more savvy about banking than I was 5 years ago. So it's ongoing. But when you ask how this affects my role, if my bank's reputation takes a beating because of improper practices, that brings me into the conversation very quickly, because the brand image and perception is my key role.
Okay, so I have a question about this. I mean, you can come back to that question as well. But one thing that baffled me when I came back to Nigeria, I seen these banks like UBA owning net channels or a YouTube channel like Red. UBA has Red, and you guys have
Accelerate TV.
Accelerate TV. How does that work? Because I've never known of a bank that owns TV stations or whatever.
So
and
it's
why
not,
do you guys have
it's
that?
not ownership, it's a partnership. Right? So Accelerate TV is powered by Access Bank, definitely.
And what about UBA and Red TV? Isn't that
Well,
ownership?
I can't speak to them. I don't know what their structure is.
Okay.
But Accelerate TV is our partner, and Accelerate TV, there's 60% of our population in Nigeria is under 35, if I'm guessing correctly. These young people are not banking with any bank because of anything other than pure emotions, like we talked about before. So young Nigerians want a cool bank, a hip bank, a bank that listens, a bank that is fun to engage with, so that when they're talking with their peer groups, and you say, who do you bank with? They say Access Bank, and they can tell you, if you ask them why, because it's great with sustainability, it pushes great events, I feel cool because it's a young, up-and-coming bank, things like that. So partnering with Accelerate and in the other banks you mentioned, that's what it's about. Give young people a place to go and learn about banking, learn about the bank, learn about the industry, learn about what drives young people.
So just like in any other industry, the social media has become a major tool of marketing.
Oh, big time.
But do you see any risks out there in terms of your use of that platform?
I love social media and the fact that it's coming to banking, because we constantly want to hear from our customers. There's nothing more exciting for me than when we post on Instagram, for example, and it's a great post, great comment, or great caption, and people say, but my ATM is doing this, but service is this. When they do this, they're the most honest. So @ Amaechi Okobi, for example, says, this is what happened. I have your name, I have your handle. My team will go and talk to that guy who will send you a direct message and say, what was the issue? So it gives us an insight to actually go and solve their problem. People are not trying to call customer service all the time. If I go to a restaurant, I try to eat, my card doesn't work. Do I want to call customer care? No, I'm still on my data, I'm still hanging out. But everyone has this ubiquitous tool in their hands that gives them access to social media. They will very happily go and tweet, I just did this and my bank did that. That's where we come in. I see you, I see your name, we respond to you. If we can solve your problem one at a time, then we're building ambassadors from these people.
So social media has a very strong feedback system.
Absolutely, in real time.
Yes, anyway, thank you very much.
Thank
We've
you.
enjoyed having a conversation with you this
Thank you.
morning.
Thank you, Amaechi.
Yes.
Thank you.
It was a pleasure having you here.
A pleasure.
All right, it's time now for a short break.